Hi, I'm Nick Palmisano.
And I'm Matt Finney.
And this is the Bad News Network. I don't want to cover this Texas lawsuit. I really don't. Because I know that covering it will make no one happy because nothing is grounded in reality anymore. Unfortunately, it's the story of the week. Texas is now suing battleground states, stating that the manner in which they collected ballots was unconstitutional. Bear in mind that the ballots have been recounted and the same numbers have held up. Bear in mind that Attorney General Barr has already stated that there's no meaningful voter fraud and it did not affect the outcome of the election, which only hurts him personally. Bear in mind that Republicans actually gained in the House are probably going to hold the Senate. And if there was like this big conspiracy for voter fraud, those same people probably would have committed fraud, across the board and not just at the top of the ticket. Bear in mind that these attacks on the legitimacy of the election have been struck down by the courts at nearly every level and mostly by Trump appointees, including at the Supreme Court. Bear in mind that Texas probably has no standing to sue other states on how they ran their elections because, states' rights. That little thing that the Republican Party has, in my opinion, justifiably, hung their hats on for generations. Bear in mind that with every attack on the legitimacy of the election, the American people lose more and more confidence in the process, and it inches us closer to a situation where we could actually have a civil war. Bear in mind that the Attorney General of Texas, Ken Paxton, is currently under indictment for securities fraud, and that recently 8 more of his subordinates have come forward and said he has incorrectly and illegally used his power to help donors. Bear in mind that a pardon would probably go a long way for Paxton. Actually, bear none of that in mind. I've decided I'm not going to cover the Texas lawsuit. Think whatever you want to think.
This week, Texans rallied and grabbed their digital pitchforks and torches after catching wind of a bill proposed to reconfigure castle doctrine. Texas Democrat Representative Terry Mesa proposed HB 196 this week. A series of quotes have been linked to her in defense of this bill, although to be fair and transparent, I have not found the source of these quotes. It's plastered all over the internet, but I haven't found her actually saying it or an article where it clearly says this was her interviewed. I'll read the quotes directly, otherwise you'll just think I'm using hyperbole, or as the French say, being hyperbolist. Here's some cliff notes. She allegedly stated, "Thieves only carry weapons for self-protection and to provide the householder with an incentive to cooperate. They just want to get their loot and get away. When the resident tries to resist is when people get hurt. If only one side is armed, fewer people will be killed." She goes on to say, "In most instances, the thief needs the money more than the homeowner does. This homeowner's insurance will reimburse their losses. On balance, the transfer of property is likely to lead to a more equitable distribution of wealth." Sounds familiar. "If my bill can help make this transfer a peaceful one, so much the better." Again, I haven't been able to find the source of these quotes, so until then I can't submit them as fact. She did state on Twitter, however, that the bill does not repeal castle doctrine. Instead, it would require the homeowner to exhaust the potential of safely retreating into their own home until such point where they can use deadly force. She goes on to say, "I don't believe stealing someone's lawn ornament should be punishable by death." This is true. The bill technically wouldn't repeal the law. It does indicate, however, that it would remove robbery and aggravated robbery from the list of offenses that would justify use of deadly force. Lawyers will then argue later whether or not you retreated to the point where you could no longer retreat and had to use deadly force. That should go great. Also, the term deadly is omitted in places, leaving just the word force. I'm no lawyer, but I imagine this could open the door for a defense lawyer to complicate matters. While this has everyone plenty upset, there's almost a guarantee that this will be dead on arrival, much like a whole plethora of other gun laws that have been proposed this month. In any case, it's weird for me to try and listen to people argue away their right to self-defense. I'll say it now as I always have, I really don't care which side of the line you associate with, but giving away your rights on any subject will always baffle me. Anyways, here's Wonderwall. You're gonna be the one that saves me.
In a heartbreakingly awesome loss for the Chargers, The Patriots absolutely starched them earlier this week, 45-0. That's right, no points. At first we thought, is this a scrimmage? Is this actually a professional team? Turns out it was. Admittedly, this has been a rocky season for the Patriots, and like 4 days later, yesterday, we choked to the Rams, but it was nice to get that little W. You got to celebrate the good when it comes around.
More vaccine news coming at you this week. Canada is set to get 250,000 more doses of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. They announced their authorization just a day after the UK rolled theirs out, and Bahrain followed suit right after. I wouldn't hold your breath, though. The United Kingdom is warning those who are prone to severe allergic reactions to maybe not take the jab after 2 NHS workers went down with allergic reactions. It's worth stating, however, that they both got treated and are now completely fine. My heart is really hot, my bones are cold, my teeth are loose. I can see noises. The US is still moving forward with the vaccine and has reported successful tests thus far. After the second dose, researchers have posted a 98% efficacy result. This is well beyond results of vaccines like the flu. Still, while the data seems promising, half the country is unsure whether or not they'll take the COVID-19 vaccine right away. And that's not just conspiracy theorists, that's medical field workers as well. We put the question to you, BNN audience. Let us know where you stand in the comments.
Following the brutal murder of Vanessa Guillen at Fort Hood, the Pentagon has announced that 14 senior officers have been relieved of duty. That being said, an internal investigation is still ongoing and the punishments could end up being harsher. This is one of the biggest disciplinary measures that the service has ever taken. Army Secretary Ryan McCarthy stated that the things that occurred at Fort Hood are the direct result of leadership failures on the part of these senior leaders. He went on to say that there's an overarching problem with sexual assault, sexual abuse, and confidence in the leadership system when it comes to these issues. Naturally, commanders everywhere, finally seeing that there is a real penalty for them being shitty, have immediately announced that this kind of thing will never happen in their units, while they continue to do the exact same things they always have.
An Italian husband got in such a heated debate with his wife this week that he stormed out of his home and headed out to walk it off. This led to a 450-kilometer tour of Italy, which is roughly 250 miles American, or 9 marathons. Supposedly, the argument started by his wife saying, "So I happened to be looking through your phone last night." Anyways, couples therapists have long stated that communication is the key to a healthy relationship. Fitness instructors have long said that exercise is the key to a healthy body. Well, decisions were made, and the healthy Italian walked about 60 kilometers a day. So he walked for about 7.5 days. This guy walked almost half of Italy in like a week. At that distance, it's safe to say that good communication suffered, but healthy practices endured. News of this started going viral as apparently several people offered him food and water on his Adriatic walkabout. Police officers in Fano, Italy stopped him and gave him a ticket because he was out after curfew during the COVID quarantine. When asked if he was okay, he responded simply, "I'm alright, but just a bit tired." Italian social media following the story nicknamed him Forrest Gump. For nearly 8 glorious days, this man experienced peace and exercise the likes of which he had only dreamed of. Then the police called his wife to come and collect him and bring him home. Can you imagine that car ride? "How do you do this to me? I have to look Domenica in the eye every day now. She think I know can get through my husband. Fango, sono sconvolto. Tutto questo è cose frustrante. Sta zitto. Rampa tu faccia, tu sei pazzo."
The ex-Israeli space security chief came out this week to tell everybody that aliens are real. Of course, he was standing in the middle of the street with a sign wrapped around his body that said, "The end is near," which may have slightly hampered his credibility. Haim Ashed has said that he has been in constant communication with the Galactic Federation. God, I want to believe this so much. Is a real-life X-Wing too much to ask for Christmas? The former professor and retired general has said that the Galactic Federation is also searching for the meaning of life just as we are. And there is a secret base in the depths of Mars where the US has secretly created a deal with these aliens. And apparently the treaty is called the Paris Handshake. Within the cooperation agreement, the United States allows alien testing here. See, now this is where I get suspicious of the whole thing. Love him or hate him, there is no way that President Trump knew about aliens, let alone a galactic federation, and didn't tweet about it or maybe start a show about it.
With the season of giving upon us, we can't forget about those people who are locked up away from their families. Luckily for us, someone's taken over old St. Nick's chores in a prison in Mississippi, as the guards found over 20 pounds of tobacco and 7 pounds of barbecued chicken thrown over the fence in a secluded part of the prison yard. Other items ranged from cell phones to bags of weed that were sewn into the insides of footballs and thrown over the gates in the hopes that it would land in the hands of prisoners. That's a touchdown for the touch tones. Now I understand the cell phones and the drugs, but barbecue chicken? Was it raw or was it cooked? Was it Wingstop or B-dubs? How spicy were these wings? Did you call in an order? Did the Grubhub delivery guy chuck it over the fence? These are the real important questions that I need answered. I haven't been to Mississippi prison, so I'm gonna assume that the food isn't that good. I've seen YouTube videos of people making prison pizzas out of ramen and soggy Doritos, so maybe it doesn't matter that the food was coming in footballs over the fence. The culprits haven't been found yet, but authorities narrowed it down to 2 suspects between gang activity in the area and literal Santa Claus. Which is entirely possible, as Christmas miracles do happen, and maybe Bobby really will get that shiv he's always wanted.
It's good to know that no matter what is happening in the world, there's always someone that's going to be out there trying to be a dick. This week, more than 100,000 counterfeit 3M N95 masks were discovered in a warehouse in El Paso, Texas. The total estimated value of the haul was about $600,000. These masks were originally headed to frontline medical staff on the East Coast. Thankfully, the good people at Homeland Security stepped in and exposed this masquerade of masks for aid. Whatever your opinion on masks, these masks were going to frontline workers that are dealing with patients that have all kinds of medical conditions, not just COVID. The fact that there's even a need to create an underground mafia of counterfeit masks is a little disturbing, to be honest. But it is strangely comforting to know that the scum of the earth continue to do their thing, no matter whether it's a pandemic or just everyday life. It's a little normalcy. Honestly, it's hard to tell a regular mask from a counterfeit mask. They basically look the same, but some of the markings are in different places. And a shocking bit of news, over 50% of the counterfeit masks come from China, which blew me away because they have a strong history of valuing intellectual property.
You know, one thing I loved about Christmas growing up was going to the mall and sitting on some dirty Santa's stranger's lap. Oh, the joys of telling some filthy old dude smelling of cheap booze what I wanted for Christmas. Ah, what great times. Unfortunately for a little boy in Chicago, his experience with Santa wasn't so merry. 4-year-old Michael DiCarlo went to the mall with his grandma to meet Santa and tell him what he wanted for Christmas. What Michael and his grandma didn't know was that 2020 Santa was budget as f***. When Santa asked Michael what he wanted for Christmas, Michael told him that he wanted the super cool Nerf gun. Seems like a reasonable request. I too would like a super cool Nerf gun. Unless of course your local mall in these COVID times skimped on their budget and contracted Woke Santa. After hearing Michael's request, Woke Santa simply responded, "No. Guy, it is your literal job to sit in that chair and tell little kids that you're gonna get them whatever they want. PS5? No problem. Pony? You got it. Actual alien spaceship with interdimensional teleportation? I'll see what the elves can whip up." But not Woke Santa. Instead, Michael got a full-blown Ralphie from Christmas Story moment. Luckily for Michael, Grandma filmed the entire event and posted it across social media. As per usual, the internet was a vengeful bitch and tore Woke Santa to pieces. The mall that had contracted Woke Santa issued an apology and sent a more pro-2A Santa to his house to give him a Nerf gun. Hasbro, the company that owns Nerf, also sent Michael a care package. So let's remember that the true holiday spirit is giving. But I don't give two shits how woke you think you are. If you Santa, you're giving those kids every little hope and dream that they have coming out of their tiny little heads, or I will cut your sleigh brake lines.
And finally, in Florida Man news, a 21-year-old man named David ORIN HUMPHLETT has made a name for himself in Gainesville, Florida by jumping into ponds and letting snakes and other venomous creatures bite him. He claims it's to educate the public. Don't thank this Florida brand Steve Irwin just yet. The videos he's posting aren't as helpful as you would think. The reason he's making these videos is he wants to show people that snake bites actually don't hurt that bad. I'm gonna go ahead and take your word for it, David, because 1, I learned everything I need to know about snakes from Indiana Jones, and 2, I don't care if you don't think it hurts that much. I'm still not going to antagonize any snakes. Don't want them in my house, don't want them as pets, don't want them around. I don't even want to hang out with one when I'm camping. Come to think of it, camping is dumb. But wait, maybe I shouldn't be taking credit away from David just yet. Maybe he's a young biologist that is working an extra job, just trying to make ends meet while he finishes his degree, or maybe his family owns a wildlife preserve and he spent his whole life studying snakes. What's that? No, he's a delivery driver. Just likes to jump into dirty rivers and ponds and get bit by snakes. Snake bites, river, delivery. I think there's an Amazon joke in there somewhere.
Don't.
And that's why... All right, I get it. These guys suck. And with that, I'm Nick Palmisano.
And I'm Matt Finney.
And this is the Bad News Network. Our news is at least as bad as the news you're getting already, and have yourself a merry week before Christmas. As always, you can get 25% off at rangerup.com when you use the code BNN. Check out our OnlyFans, Nick and Matt on OnlyFans. And yeah, that's about it.